What is up? Good morning. Welcome on to Let's Bet at Orange Bar here with Jared Smith. It is Taco Tuesday. Jared, I haven't seen you in like 4 days. How was your weekend? How was the
Oh,
wedding?
so great. I was
Yeah?
dapper AF in my tux. Party time with I mean, really, you get to my age, you don't have a lot of friends that get married anymore. This was the last of our crew. And it was great. I walked down the aisle. I haven't done that in a while. So that brought back some fun memories. And it was just a very nice weekend. I didn't make a bet all weekend, Saturday or Sunday. I did not click submit on
Wow.
any way. I had some pending wagers from the US Open, obviously, that carried over into the weekend. But I did not make no fresh powder for me on Saturday or Sunday. It was all just relax and chill. Monday, yesterday, we didn't have I was off yesterday as well. I kind of eased back into the work week, but very, very relaxing. I'm refreshed. I'm recharged. Ready to go.
Good. Good. Love that for you. It's going to be
Go.
an exciting week. We got a lot to talk about this week, starting off with the fact that Brooks Koepka has announced that he has joined the LIV Tour. I think we're going to start seeing more guys starting to join. Just your thoughts on the whole LIV Tour and everything that's going into that, because you're mentioning that maybe Colin Morikawa could be next too.
Yeah, that's the next guy on the list. So I think what's starting to happen is now the jury is out on the consequences. The LIV tour had its first wave. The PGA tour came down with the hammer and they said everyone's
Yeah.
suspended. There was some confusion about the major championships. Now there's less confusion. It looks like, from what we're seeing now, the US Open, the PGA Championship, and the British Open, the Open Championship, they really don't have the PGA does not have any control over who
Yeah.
plays in those events. It is an open, and the PGA Championship. There are lists of players that are exempt, and Brooks, of course, Colin Morikawa, who's won the PGA Championship. You get exemptions, and what I'm sure their lawyers are starting to tell them is, listen, they can't remove you from those fields. You have exemptions, and if they do, there's going to be a legal battle. And I think that's the last thing the PGA Tour wants. So Brooks, Colin Morikawa, these guys are former major champions. I think you're going to see more former major champions, some other bigger names, start to move their way over, because if they're not gonna be able to keep them out of the majors, and they're gonna pay them money out the ass to go, it's hard to
Crazy
say
money.
no. Yeah, and the
Yeah, it's
Masters
crazy
is
money.
the one that's a little bit fugazi here, because the Masters is an invitational. So I don't know what Augusta's going to do. That's the one that's, I think, on the knife's edge. But the other three, it seems like Brooks and Colin Morikawa are still going to be able to play in those events based off of their prior work in prior years.
It's going to be crazy to see how things kind of transpire. I feel like that first week we were like, oh my gosh, all these players are leaving the PGA Tour. They're going to this LIV, Phil Mickelson, guys like that, like big name guys, Bryson DeChambeau. And now we're seeing a guy like Brooks Koepka, who doesn't even get along with Bryson DeChambeau, now going too, because they're offering so much money at this point. So it's crazy. We're going to see how things kind of develop over the next couple of weeks. I feel like we're going to see quite a few more guys maybe testing out the
Yeah.
waters, dipping their toe in to the LIV Tour, or just diving in full on head first. Who knows? But I guess we'll keep you posted on that. We'll break it all down. It's just crazy to see how things are kind of evolving and transforming in golf right before our eyes. So yeah, we're going to keep an eye on that. But we do have a lot to talk about today. NHL recap. We had a game 3 yesterday in Tampa Bay. Not necessarily the result that I wanted. I am never betting an under again in this series. I am now an official over better, Jared, because this chick is a
Oh,
clown for betting 3 straight unders and 3 straight overs hitting.
oh,
So never again. But we're going to get your thoughts. You're not on the show tomorrow, so I want to get some of your picks if you
no.
have any picks heading into tomorrow. And then we have Howard Bender coming on to break down MLB. We're about a third of the way through the season, maybe even a little bit more than that. We're going to get his
Yeah.
thoughts, what's working well for him in terms of MLB betting, what's not working well, what he likes, what he doesn't like, and who he sees, winning some individual awards as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it and let's bet it. NHL, reaction to game 3. Tampa just seemed, Jared, to me, and I don't know if you feel the same way, that they had a lot more energy. I know that the Avs had a power play goal, but then Tampa reacted with 2 goals back to back of their own. But for me, it was the ice didn't look very good. It looked kind of like shaky a little bit. The defense, the Avs defense, didn't look solid like they usually do. And Darcy Kemper was not good. in that game. When you were watching that, what are your thoughts kind of that you take away? Because obviously now it's a 2-1 series. It's a toss up at this point. Anyone can win it.
Yeah, I agree with all of your takeaways. I mean, you've watched the Avs play a lot, and you watched Lightning play a
Yeah.
lot too. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that um, the Game Two blowout really made Game Three a very favorable spot for the Lightning in terms of the odds. Because I think if Game Two would have been 2-1, 3-2, and it was a tight game, and it was kind, Game One went to overtime, I think the line probably would have been -120, -130 for Tampa Bay last night. But it was -110. It closed a little bit longer than that. But it was basically a pick 'em last night. I think that
Yeah, it was.
recent guys from Game Two winning 7-0 and just arguably the most dominant performance of the entire postseason. But when you look at the full game, first period they were down 3-0, and then I'm assuming that Tampa Bay just said, "Hey, listen, we're not winning this game. We need to rest up for Game Three because now Game Three is the most important game of the series." So the last period, or probably 2 periods of Game Two, hard to really take anything away from that. Now we go to Game Three, and listen, the Lightning at home have been a completely different animal. I mean, I've heard you mention this stat a bunch. 8-1 now at home this postseason with a +17
Mm-hmm.
scoring margin. And I think when you look at the overall trend in the Stanley Cup final since 2007, Game 3, when the home team is down 2-0 in the series, the home team is 9-1 straight up with a +17 goal margin. And the over is 8-1 in those games. So again, the trend says when you're up 2-0 in the series like the Avs were and you've played so great, you come back on the
Mm-hmm.
road and you kind of rest on your laurels a little bit. And let's be honest, the big handicap in this entire series is Darcy Kemper going to be able to hold up because there's a massive
Yeah,
edge in goal for Vasilevsky.
totally.
Last night he didn't. Now the question I have for you, does he start in Game 4? Because I think Frankie looked
I
pretty good
don't
towards the end of
know.
that game.
I think for a confidence standpoint, he does. He is still the starter. Obviously, we're going to hear what Jared Bednar has to say about it today after practice, and then tomorrow morning. You see at morning skate, depending on which net the goalie is in at morning skate, if they're going to be starting or not. So we're going to see. I think that they do go back to the well with Darcy Kemper because he is the
Okay.
starter. Frankie is the backup for a reason. But again, Frankie, well, now he's 6-1, but he was 6-0 heading into his game of relief yesterday in the postseason this year, and so he has been playing really, really well. He only allowed 1 goal yesterday when he came in a period in what, like 5 minutes of play, period in 6 minutes of play,
Yeah.
whenever he came in. But I, oh, I honestly don't know. I truly don't know. I think that they go back to Darcy Kemper confidence wise. They have to get his confidence up. I mean, he just came off a game where he had a shutout. I
Yeah.
know he only saw 16 shots on goal, but he still did have a shutout.
Yeah.
And then the game before
Totally
that, he still
different game.
stopped 20 of 23 shots on goal. So it just depends on him getting his confidence up, him seeing the puck the way that he needs to be seeing it. But I do think that they go back to Darcy Kemper. I'm going to be shocked if they go to Frankie, but Frankie has been playing well, so I wouldn't be like mad about it. You know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
depends on what Jared Bednar feels is going to be best for this team because the guy between the pipes, that's the guy that's that's basically leading everybody from the back. So it's just going to be interesting to see what Jared Bednar does in this coaching scheme at Amalie Arena. And it is amazing how much the home crowd advantage really pushed Tampa. And honestly, that goal that they called back from Val Nichushkin changed the
Yeah.
momentum of the game for me.
Agreed.
They called
Absolutely.
that goal back. Then Tampa all of a sudden had 4 shots on goal right after they called it back. So
Yep.
that kind of changed the momentum of the game for me. They kind of were like, okay, we need to get our shit together now. And they did. And they were able to get it done last night in front of a home crowd. I'm interested to see how things kind of play out tomorrow. But again, I am only betting the over from now on. No more under betting for me in this series. And that
Totals are tough,
that.
Lawrence. These totals are tough. I think last night was like, to me, like the Lightning being less than like 30-40 cent favorites, which is kind of where they've been priced. That made it seem like you're getting a favorable price there. But the key for Game 4, I mean, we talked about Frankie, and Kemper. On the Lightning side, it's going to be Kucherov. He did not look great towards the end of that game, and I don't think Tampa can afford to lose him. And I was surprised. You see it at the bottom of the screen right there. You would have guessed after Tampa Bay played as well as they did last night they would be priced a little bit higher than they were in game 3. That's pretty much what the game 3 line was right there, minus 110 on both sides. A little bit of movement towards Tampa Bay towards game time, but not significant. I would have expected the Lightning to be minus 120, minus 130 here in this game, and they're not. And that tells me two things. One, Kucherov's status might be in limbo, and the line might move a little bit towards Tampa Bay tomorrow if Kucherov plays. It also could move the other way if he doesn't. And I'll be honest, at that price, I might consider the Avs because I think, again, the book's kind of telling you that Tampa Bay isn't as stout as a home favorite as they should be. They should be favored 20 or 30 cents tomorrow night, and they're not. And I'm still trying to figure out why. We still have 24 hours to get to the bottom of it, but I'm going to keep an eye on this line over the next 24 hours because I think Kucherov's news and the fact that Tampa Bay is still priced at basically a pick 'em at home is intriguing. So
yeah, well, Braden Point was a last second scratch.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
So we're going to be breaking that down a lot tomorrow. I'll have my bets tomorrow. I promise you guys I won't be as trash as I was yesterday with my bets.
Stop. You've been so good all season. Hey. You can't let a couple of bad games get you off of your confidence. Just like Darcy Kemper. Can't let one bad game
back on the horse, baby.
Confidence. You got to get right back between the pipes, LJ, and dish it out.
Back on the horse. I love it. I love it. Speaking of a guy with a lot of confidence and been doing pretty well in his MLB bets this year, let's bring in Howard Bender, head of content for Fantasy Alarm, to chat a little MLB action. It's been a minute since we've had Howard on the show. HB, how are you today?
My beautiful babies. It's been so long since I've seen you guys. How are you?
Oh,
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, Howard. Beautiful blue eyes. Those beautiful blue eyes.
Howard, MLB. It's been going well for you. What's been your bread and butter so far this year in the MLB season? Now we're like a third of the way through.
I'm loving it right now. My bread, listen, I skip the props. I know everybody loves prop bets, but prop bets are like potato chips, right? You can't just have one. So you sit there and you feed yourself incessantly with props. You're like, oh, total bases, oh, strikeouts, oh my goodness, home run.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's dangerous. It really is. So I stick to money line, run line, game totals. Occasionally I'll dabble in some team totals here and there, no doubt, because there's just certain moments where you just see a pitcher, like today, for example. Like I'm in on St. Louis, their team total over 4.5 runs because Milwaukee's throwing Chichi Gonzalez at them. And listen, anytime somebody's throwing Chichi Gonzalez at you, it's going to be big runs. So yeah, I've been hanging out in there and shooting 60%. I'm officially at 60% even right now for those bets.
This year.
Great.
Here's the thing about the money line. And listen, everyone's got their own style. Everyone, there's nothing wrong or nothing right about anyone's style. But here's where I struggle with the full games, Howard. I don't trust these bullpens. And I don't trust the managers making the right decisions for the bullpens. That's the whole reason that I stick exclusively to the props, is because I target the starting pitcher. And it allows me to eliminate some of the fat and the noise that's involved in the bullpens. So I guess the question is, you've clearly had success navigating what I think is a very difficult thing to navigate. What is your advice? Because we don't talk about full game money lines a whole lot on the show. We do a lot of Yerfy-Nerfy, we do a lot of strikeout props, we do a lot of out rounds. So what is your advice to the gambling public, Pickswise Nation, on how to avoid some of those bullpen landmines that I don't have the stomach for it?
Super simple, right? Fangraphs.com. You go to the pitching team leaders for pitching, right? You go to the relievers, and then you go to last 7 days, last 14 days, and you just sort it by ERA and innings pitched. You see which bullpens are being overworked. There was a game last week. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember who the starters were. They were really rock solid starters. I think it was Dylan Cease for the White Sox was one of them. I can't remember who he was going up against. But both bullpens had been really, really shaky in the last 7 days. They had all thrown, a little too many innings. And so what I did was I limited that to the first 5 innings, and I played that, that over under total runs for the first 5. But, if you're looking at bullpens, and some of these bullpens are, they're for the week, they haven't thrown a lot of innings, or their ERA is rock solid, I'll tilt, towards that full game and not have an issue with it. I'll tell you where the issue is with the over-unders for full games is the fact that this year they still have that runner on second base for extra innings. And I've had a bunch of, games just blown up like that because I've got the under. It's 2-2 going into the 10th inning. And the next thing you know is because relievers pitch differently when there's a guy on base behind them, then it's a little different. You start seeing those team totals jump up a little bit more because of the extra innings. Listen, if I get burnt on that every so often, I'm okay with it. But, listen, you can research. That's the beauty of baseball, is that there is a statistic for everything. And there is, you can find anything you need to know. So if you're worried about bullpens, which, again, I have that page bookmarked because I just sit there and I look at what every bullpen has done over the last week and over the last 2 weeks. And that's how I end up, dealing with whether or not I'm going to trust in the fact that I can bet that full game. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I got to tell you, it's been great. It really has, because the books, they're slow to keep up with certain things. Like in the beginning of the season, I was all in on the money lines against the Reds, right? Because the books weren't correcting that in time. Right now, with the summer winds blowing out at Wrigley, they're still not correcting those over-unders on those game totals there. So now I'm like, oh, wind's blowing out, hit the over on that one there. So that's kind of where I've been looking for those full games. Not to mention, here you go. You ready for this one? Little stat.
Let's hear it.
And it pains me as a New Yorker to say this, but the Mets, 20-4 in games following a loss. Been hitting that money line on a regular basis, and I've caught it at plus odds a couple of times too. So that right there is another one that they haven't really caught up with yet.
Okay, 2 things I will say to that. Number 1, so I covered the Braves Cubs series obviously this weekend. I was in studio hosting our pre and post game show. But the first 2 games, I know the Braves are a home run hitting team. That's how they've been winning games. They had like 20 home runs in 5 games combined before they went into that Cubs series. They hit 15 balls off the bat at 100 plus miles an hour. Only 5 of those ended up being hits. 10 of them got blown back in because the wind that day was blowing in the first 2 games. The second game, or the third game, it was blowing out into the left, and we saw them get 2 home runs in that game. But before that, these winds were blowing in 10 of the 15 balls that were hit over 100 miles an hour. Out. It's just crazy to see. Number 2, you talked about the Big Apple with the Mets. Let's take it to the Big Apple. If there was one team, Howard, that you'd pick to overtake the Yankees or the Mets to win the division, who would it be and why?
The easy one is the NL, right? Because you look at the East and you've got the Braves are at plus 260 to win that division. We saw what they did last year, right? Mets collapsed, the Braves turned it around. I mean, the Braves were absolute garbage early on. Then all of a sudden, what happened? A big 12-game win streak for them, and everything's right again. So the Braves are the team that I think that they're probably going to be the ones to give the Mets the most trouble there in the NL. And the fact that you're getting it at plus 260 right now makes me want to sprinkle a little on there. In the East for the AL, I mean, Toronto's the closest at plus 1,000 right now to win that division. I won't even do that if I don't think that that they're going to acquire some starting pitching coming into it. Like the hitting will catch fire, right? I mean, you've got Vladimir Guerrero and Bo Bichette, and Teoscar Hernandez is back healthy finally now. So, I think that the Blue Jays can definitely give the Yankees a run for their money, but they're going to need the pitching to get it done. So right now, I'm hesitant to do it, but if my inside sources, i.e. Jim Bowden on the Fantasy Alarm Show, tells me that the Jays are looking for, a starting pitcher here and there, then I might do it.
I like that nugget. Because I thought Toronto was not a shoo-in, but I like Toronto to win the AL East this
You
year.
were all on the Blue Jays last year, Jared, towards the end
I
of the
liked
season
them last year too.
Loved them.
And I'm a Yankees fan. I mean, again, you can never call me a homer because I did not see it. I didn't see the Yankees, and Aaron Judge especially, which brings me to my next point, having this kind of a first half. He is the odds-on favorite, and that means minus money right now to win the American League MVP. I've got a nice little nugget on Shohei. I've got a nice little nugget on Byron Buxton, and I'm feeling worse and worse about those two bets as the days go by, Howard, because it looks like Aaron Judge is just on a freight train with the only stop being the American League MVP award. Now, the question that I have to ask you is there anyone at this point that can derail what seems like a runaway train?
I mean, you could look at Mike Trout at plus 600 as being the guy. We saw what he did in Seattle this past weekend. He's always in play for that. Listen, as much as I love Judge, I love your sprinkle on Byron Buxton. I hate having Byron Buxton in fantasy baseball because the dude's never healthy. But if this dude actually does stay healthy, he hasn't been on the IL at all this season yet. If this kid stays healthy for the entire season, I could definitely see him garnering a significant number of MVP votes, especially if the Yankees start running away with the AL East. Well, I mean, as great of a season as Judge is having, would he be the MVP if you're getting strong performances from Garrett Cole, and you're getting strong performances from some of the other hitters like DJ LeMahieu or Giancarlo Stanton? Buxton, not really a man alone on an island, but I mean, I think that the baseball community wants to give him that MVP. They want him to have that just crushing, mind-numbing season where there's speed, there's power, there's great defense in there. That's the only guy that I would like. I mean, it's plus 5,000 right now for him to do it. Like that, to me, that's worth, that's worth $20. Plus 5,000.
I mean, not Shohei at all. Shohei is off the radar for you, even though he basically does everything.
He does do everything, absolutely. It's just I don't think that Shohei's having that dream season at the plate that we saw last year. Like last year, the pitching was good, not phenomenal. Last year, the hitting was phenomenal. This year, a little bit different there.
Average on both fronts.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's get into the slate tonight. There's quite a few games going on. You're on an under, an over, and a money line bet. And I'm actually going to kind of tail your team total because I am also betting money line in this game as well. So I'll let you go through your slate, and then Jared and I will kind of follow up.
Okay. Blue Jays, White Sox. I like the under 9. It's 9 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. I usually play predominantly on BetMGM or Caesars. I've seemed to have been getting comparable, if not better, odds over there. But for whatever reason, it's minus 120 on BetMGM. But on the DK Sportsbook, the under 9 is minus 115 on DraftKings. Listen, it's Kevin Gossman, who definitely is in need of a rebound from that craptastic, whatever it was last time, right? Like, sorry, I'm like, I can't use that bad language.
Yeah.
Jeez, Howard.
I mean, listen, Gossman needs to do it, and that split finger when he's on, on. And then Dylan Cease has been absolutely fantastic, right? Yeah. So I like the two of them to hold those offenses definitely in check. I checked on both bullpens. They've been good, not great, but they haven't thrown a lot of innings either, Jared. So in the last week, neither bullpen has been really overworked too much. So I'll take the under on 9 there. Cardinals team total, like I said, over 4.5 runs here. Chichi Gonzalez on the bump for the Brew Crew. So I mean,
I love that you can't say that without laughing too. You go Chichi.
Oh, I literally sat there on the air last week when Chichi Gonzalez was playing. I just kept saying over and over, Chichi, Chichi.
It is a fun name to say. It is a fun name to say.
It is, right? If his last name was Francisco, it'd be even better, right? Francisco.
Francisco.
Seriously.
And then the last one, I'm getting plus odds on it here. The Phillies money line, going up against the Texas Rangers. It's Martin Perez versus Kyle Gibson. Both pitchers, I think, are wildly overachieving. However, Phillies do a really nice job against left-handed hitting. I think they've got like a 342 weighted on base average against left-handed pitching. And listen, I just don't believe in Martin Perez. I understand what he's doing right now, and you kind of have to, you want to ride the wave until it breaks. I think we're looking at that for both pitchers here. So I'm going with the fact that the Phillies are white hot since they fired Joe Girardi. The hitting has been absolutely fantastic, and I'm just going to side with them because I'm getting the plus odds on it.
Don't hate it.
Why not? I love it. I am also going to kind of tail you on the Cardinals team total over 4.5 because I also liked the Cardinals money line. And I looked yesterday and it was at plus money, and this morning it's at minus 146. It's a little juicy right now for the Cardinals money line, but I really do like them. And when you look at, Jack Flaherty back in action, he's aiming for like 75, 80 pitches probably in his second game of the year. But he has a 3.75 skill interactive ERA, and I think it's like a 20.2 strike to walk out percentage, or strike out to walk percentage too. But then you look at on the other side, like the Brewers have really had a tough time with pitching injuries this season. Like you have Aaron Ashby, Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta, like they've had some serious injuries to their team this season. And Chichi Gonzalez has a skill interactive ERA of 5.46 and 3.9% strikeout to walk ratio. That's not very good. And I just feel like St. Louis, they have the pitching advantage. They have the better offense. They're seventh in WRC plus. And yesterday it was at plus money. Today it's at minus 146. So it is a little bit juicy, but I still like the Cardinals money line to back up your Cardinals team total over 4.5 as well. So that's one of my bets for today. Jared, you have a couple walk bets. So Howard, we've been doing this thing where Jared does a walk this way parlay. And I always sing the song Walk This Way. Walk this way. And then Jared gives me his parlay. He has a 3-pitcher parlay, walk parlay. So Jared, you want to give that out first? Because I love that.
Yeah. Wait, no, I think we're going to end with the parlay.
Oh, fine. I already sang it, but I'll do it again.
Yeah. Let's go.
Never get enough.
Come on, Jared.
I'm super hot with the Walk This Way parlay. I've hit 3 out of the last 4. It's been fun, Howard. Walk props. Listen, I know you're not into the props, but
he loves the walk props.
I think walk props are easy to predict in strikeout props. For example, last night Garrett Cole was unbelievable. 12 strikeouts, didn't give up a hit till the 8th inning. Still went over his walks prop easily. Over 1.5, he had 3 walks in the game. So even on nights that the pitchers have their best stuff, they go over these numbers. But listen, you're only as good as yesterday's bets, so we'll see if I can get back in the win column today. But we did hit the parlay last night. Here are the individual walk props that I like tonight. They're both at plus money, and the way I figure it, we go 1-1. At worst, we're up for the night. Obviously, we hope to go 2-0, but I like to try to live in the plus money with these as much as I can when I'm betting individually. Kyle Gibson over 1.5 walks. He is at Texas tonight. 42% hit rate this season, but 75% in his road starts. 3 out of 4 road starts for Gibson this year have gone over 1.5 walks, and the splits on Gibson are just bananas. 1.5 walks per night at home, 4.5 on the road. That is silly. I don't know what it is about home cooking or whatever, but clearly he likes pitching in Philly, doesn't like pitching on the road as much this season. And last year, if we take the big sample size this season, last season, 63% hit rate, 27 out of 43 starts for Gibson have gone over 1.5 walks. That's the equivalent of minus 169 odds. We're getting plus 115 for this bet over at DraftKings. Very favorable number there. Texas is a low walk rate team, but Gibson pitched for Texas last year. They know him very well, and this is a return engagement going back to a place where he only pitched 1 year there. But still, I would imagine that the Rangers coaching staff has a very deep and thick binder on Mr. Gibson. So we'll go over 1.5 walks plus 115. Reed Detmers over 1.5 walks plus 105. The Angels tonight facing the Royals at home. 55% hit rate for Detmers on the year. 6 out of 11 starts have gone over. But the command is trending down. He's gone over in 5 out of his last seven, after staying under in 3 out of his first 4. So great to start the year, but we're starting to see the command tail off a little bit for Reed Detmers. 70% hit rate if you include last season. 11 out of 16 starts. That's the equivalent of minus 220 odds. And we're getting plus 105 for this bet. Meanwhile, the Royals, unlike the Rangers, a very high walk rate team, especially against lefties. I was kind of surprised to see this. Almost a 10% walk rate against lefties this year. Sixth highest overall in the last 7 days. Almost 10% walk rate for the Royals against left-handed pitchers this year. 5 of the last 8 left-handed starters against the Royals have gone over 1.5 walks. That covers the entire month of June. So plus 105 for Detmers. And I'll give you an outs prop as well. We'll round it out, a nice odd number of 3. So hopefully we finish 3-0, but I'll take 2 and 1. Tyler Mahle, under 16.5 outs. Obviously, we're going to fade this guy after he threw a complete game shutout and struck out 12, right? I mean, that's just what I do. But he threw a career high 119 pitches. And as Lauren knows, I'm curious your thoughts on this, Howard. I love fading pitchers the start after they throw a career high in pitches. These guys are creatures of habit. They go past their limit, and then in their next start, they struggle a little bit, and they've got command issues. Well, tonight he's facing the Dodgers, who, arguably the best lineup in baseball. Highest walk rate, 3rd highest on base percentage, 4th highest WRC plus against righties this season. And Mahle struggles at home, 5.01 ERA at home, 3.78 on the road this season. He's at home tonight, hitters friendly ballpark, Dodgers swinging hot sticks. I see them getting to Mahle early in this game and him staying under 16.5 outs. All 3 of these are plus money. Mahle's a coin flip at even odds, but plus 115 on Gibson, plus 105 on Detmers, and then even odds on Mahle. So those are my props for tonight in the MLB. Tail or fade, but let's have some fun, right?
I love the walk props. I definitely do. I love the walk props. I think that it's fantastic. We should have you. Why aren't you on the Fantasy Alarm Show with me? Come on this week. Let's do it, right? Let's have some fun.
More work. I walked myself right into that one, Howard.
What a the Mahle one, I'm a little up in the air. His last 2 starts, I know he threw 113 pitches. But these last 2 starts, he really has looked so good. And I was a big fan of Mahle coming into the season anyway. But I mean, listen, what 15? You said under 16.5. So what? 5 1/3 innings.
5 2/3 would be a loss. 6 innings obviously is a loss. He could pitch through the 5th, get an out in the 5th, and I would still win.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if the Dodgers, take him deep into counts in the first 3 innings, you're gold there, right? Absolutely. Yeah. So,
I agree.
Interesting. No Mookie Betts.
That's true, but that doesn't bother me as much because actually he's a guy that is not a guy that takes a lot of pitches and draws walks. Like he's more of a free swinging, aggressive guy at the top of their lineup.
It's like me.
Yeah, it's just a contrarian thing, Howard. I love fading pitchers after they throw. I mean, the guy threw 119 pitches in his last start. I love fading guys after that. And, that we'll get into the walks prop a little bit. Spencer Strider's on that list, too, coming off a career high 106 pitches. Like, it's tough. I can't imagine these guys, especially younger pitchers, after getting extended like that. But we'll see.
Yeah.
It should be a good night, Cincinnati and LA.
Totally. We'll see what happens. Howard, before we let you go, one more thing. Just when you're looking at some of these games, how do you kind of pick out what totals, what side, like how do you look? You look at a book and you're like, yeah, this game. Like what kind of comes to your mind when you're looking at that and how you kind of separate? Because there's so many games every single day.
Yeah. I mean, I look at the pitchers to start, right? Who do I like? Who don't I like? Who's a guy who, I feel like you could target against. It's funny, you gel the DFS and fantasy aspect with the betting because I do. I look at the pitchers and I look at, if I were to build a DFS lineup, which pitchers would I target against? Then I look at some team totals there.
Yeah.
And I look at that. When it comes to like run lines, I'll look at the money line first. If the team is a significant money line favorite, I'll take a look immediately at what their run line is and see where we're at. I do like using road team run lines that are negative as opposed to the home team, just because as a road team you're guaranteed a full 9 innings of batting. And that's something I think a lot of novice bettors actually end up missing when they're like, Dodgers at home -1.5 runs, I'll take that. and then they're up 2-1 at the end of the game.
Totally.
Team totals
No, I
as
know.
well.
Howard,
that's another one that I would, when you go with Cardinals, they're on the road tonight. You're going to get 9, so you know you're not going to miss out on a half of inning with that team total. So totally on board with you there. That's a great nugget. Really good nugget.
Howard, we love having you on the show. Thank you so much. Head of content for Fantasy Alarm. Make sure to check him out. Follow him on Twitter, Howard Bender. Loved having you on. We missed you. We'll see you, I know, a lot during the NFL season, maybe a little bit more during the baseball season, too. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to get to hang with you guys.
Have a great week, Howard. Appreciate it. All right, Jared, before we get into our best bets of the day and your Walk This Way parlay, because we're going to group that all in together, let's go to Pickswise.com. Who do we have for the 3-star play of the day? And then we'll get into your Walk This Way parlay and our best bets.
Well, our buddy Mark Zinno's getting back on the horse. He's going with a total in the Giants-Braves game tonight. I'll let you guys deduce how you want to play that. And we do have golf bets on the site. Joe Champion's got an outright for the Travelers. And, of course, I mean, I know you guys said it yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to congratulate Diane on air about
she's killing
her. Listen, it is hard enough to pick one outright winner a year in golf. She's picked 3 in 2 months, and 2 of them have been majors. I mean, that is incredible. Again, there's no secret sauce here. She's using her knowledge of golf and, just taking it to the level that is making us all a lot of money. I didn't profit enough from. I did have a little bit of slice of Fitzpatrick this weekend, but I didn't put enough on him. And she's having an incredible run right now. We'll see if it keeps up for this week. Obviously, the expectations now are high when you've won back-to-back outrights and 3 in her short tenure here at Pickswise. But she does have an outright, a 3-star outright on the site right now. And I saw her column live for Travelers as well. So there's a couple of other picks in there.
And we will have her on the show tomorrow, too. So she's going to break down all of those picks tomorrow on the show. I'll be hosting that one. We're going to break down everything that she sees heading into this weekend. Okay, Jared, let's do 2 things for you. Walk this way. Talk this way. Give us your Walk This Way parlay.
Yeah.
What do we got?
The Walk This Way part. See now what we've done. So I'm 5-9 with these parlays. I've been doing them now for about
Which is good. Really good.
Yeah, and again, and here's the thing that I'm learning. I like to learn things. I try to learn something every day, especially about gambling. I'm doing so much bet, and I'm always curious about this, like parlays or individual bets. So what I'm doing is I'm also tracking each bet individually and how I would do if I just bet 1 unit on each individual walks prop. The ROI difference is unbelievable. Like I'm up 3.5 units on individual if I just bet them individually, up almost 5 units on the parlay. But the ROI difference, 66% ROI on the parlays, 5% ROI on the individual bets. And that's despite the fact that I'm 28-14 in picking these individual walk props. Now, a lot of them are very highly juiced, minus 150, 200, laying $2. But it's fascinating to see the differences because we always say parlays are bad, they're bad, they're bad. Yes, they are bad. But in certain instances and done the right way and done, with discipline, I think that there is a market for them and we can, have some fun and hopefully make a little money. So here is today's Walk This Way parlay. We're going for our 3rd straight win. Parlay! All right, wow, that was terrible.
Nope.
New. Okay, we're going.
Okay, let's hit us.
All right, sorry, I'm totally off my radar now. Spencer Strider. I know you've watched this guy closely. We talked a little bit about him a few minutes ago, coming off of a career, and he has looked fantastic, and he is a great young pitcher that's going to strike out 1 million guys, but he's a little bit on the wild side at times, and he's facing a lineup that has the highest walk rate against righties in the last 30 days, over 10% walk rate against righties in the last month, and he's gone over this in 3 or 4 of his starts. So Strider's a guy that I think is going to be a mainstay in that Braves rotation, as I know you've watched him very closely over the last few weeks, but can be a little bit volatile at times. So we'll go over 1.5 for Gausman, and then the late game, hopefully we're still alive for this one. Sean Manaea over 1.5 75% hit rate this year. 13 of 19 lefties have gone over against the D-backs this year. You wouldn't have expected it. We talked about it with the Royals, the D-backs, bad lineups with high walk rates. That is something I'm learning about these walk rates. It's not always the good lineups that walk a lot. Sometimes the shitty ones that can't hit the ball, they know the only way they're going to score runs is if they walk, sack bunt, then maybe a base hit or a sack fly gets them in. So the Diamondbacks have been a high walk rate team this year, especially against lefties, and we'll take it over 1.5 on Manaea. I got plus 301 here. Strider over 1.5, Gossman over 0.5, Manaea over 1.5. And there you see the odds on the bottom of the screen. Going for 3 in a row.
Love that, Jared. Love that. Okay, our best bets of the day. Let's get right into them. You're on a Nerfie. Speaking of, you've been red hot on the Nerfies as of recently. The Yerfies yesterday went 6-3 the season. The Yerfies are 511, 497. Detroit has had 4 straight Yerfies, 9 of their last 11, and then Chicago White Sox hit 7 of their last 8 Yerfies. Yes, run first inning. You're hitting a Nerfie or a Yerfie for your best bet of the day. That's how confident you are in the Yerfie situation.
Yerfie, Nerfie, Schmurfie. This is the first time. This is a groundbreaking day for LBI. This is the first time in the history of Let's Bet It that we are giving out a Yerfie. I am giving out a Yerfie for my play of the day. I don't know if we have trumpets or I don't know. It was some kind of like streamers, congratulatory. We'll see if the bet is. Maybe I'll feel a little better about it. But this is the first time this is happening. Why? Well, I'm starting to feel a little bit better about these bets and you know the trends and some of the things that I see early in games from certain teams. And the one thing that I'm seeing, I mean, the Mets are like the most electric first inning team in baseball. They have the highest Yerfie rate in the entire league this year at almost 61%. 12 of the last 15 Yerfies for the Mets. They have the see. This is the part of the handicap that's a little bit negative, but I like to see both sides and try to see every angle. 39% scoring rate this year, which is tremendous for the Mets. The major league average is 29, but the home road splits are you know they're pretty wide. 55% scoring rate at home, which is unbelievable. Just a 22% on the road. So that's where the negative side here, and I think that's why we're getting minus 110 at MGM. On the other side, Houston, 8 out of the last 12 Yerfies, and they've scored in all 8. 30% scoring rate this season. It jumps to 44% at home. So the Astros, obviously much better at home than they are on the road. It's the opposite for the Mets. Pitching matchup tonight is why I really like this Yerfie. Trevor Williams, who has pitched 3 games on the road this year. He's given up a run in the first inning in all 3 of them. And his FIP is over 8. And his batting average against the Astros in 24 plate appearances is over 300. So he doesn't pitch well against the Astros. He doesn't pitch well in the first inning. He doesn't pitch well on the road. Jose Urquidy on the other side, 7-5 Nerfie this year, 3-1 at home. His whip in the first inning this year is pretty large, 1.5. That means he's averaging a 1.5 base runners in the first inning in games this year. And he does not pitch well against this current Mets lineup. 321 batting average, short sample size, 31 plate appearances. But again, they've seen him, they've hit him, and the Mets have just been a machine in the opening inning this year. Granted, again, they dropped that rate on the road significantly. But Astros, hitters ballpark, facing a pitcher in Urquidy who's not dominant, and they've seen before. I like this spot, minus 110, Mets, Astros, Yerfie later tonight in Houston.
I like it. Okay, my best bet of the day, Freddie Freeman, former Brave, now Dodger, 2+ bases, and I got it at plus money, plus 105. He's one of the better hitters on this LA lineup. Even though his numbers are kind of down on the year, he's only hitting 291, but he leads LA with a 375 batting average, and they're going up against Tyler Mahle, who isn't a great pitcher. Like, he really isn't if you look at some of his numbers this season. I think he's going to see quite a few at-bats. And then I was looking at some of his stats from like the last week or so. So last 7 games, he has 8 hits, 2 home runs, 5 walks. You add all those up, it's averaging over 2+ bases a game, like truly. And then last game, he had a home run, he had an RBI, he had a 1 hit, he had a walk. Like his numbers have been good enough to be able to get 2+ bases in basically each of the last 4 games that he's played in. So I think he's going to continue that role now. So Freddie Freeman, 2+ bases, getting it going against not a great team and not the best pitcher, plus 105 I like it. Let's go, Freddie boy. Let's make it happen. Let's get some hits. Let's get some runs.
Hits and runs and hits and runs and hits and runs and walks.
And we're going to hit.
Walks don't count for total bases, right? I had a discussion with a friend about this. They should count.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I don't know if they do.
Do they not?
I don't think they do.
Because you're on base.
I remember a big controversy on Twitter
do.
about it the other day. They definitely should, and if they don't, they should. I don't know if they do. I don't know if they do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they do.
We'll get
I should know this. I'm the walk king. I should know this, right?
You're the walk king.
The walk
Come on now,
master.
Jared.
I really should know this.
Okay, that's it for us today, guys. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith, Lauren Jabara, best of luck tonight. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We got some golf, some more hockey. We'll hit you with it. See you then. Bye.